Hello, friends. Welcome to Leadership Go with the Brainy Leadership Team. I'm Michael Brainy, and today we come your way with another conversation on leadership. The goal is still to develop leaders whose minds are reoriented and are leading with integrity in every sphere of life. And today we are also going to have a session with a guest, a very dear person to me, and a fellow at the Grace Life Leadership Center. And I would want him to introduce himself to us and tell us things he wants us to know about him. Then we can pick up our conversation. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. So my name is Christopher Wizofenu. Simply a kingdom lover, a lover of God. Um, of course, a volunteer and activist, a leadership coach, and then trainer. Basically, that's all that you should know about me.
He's loaded. The way you do, you know that he's loaded. He's quite loaded. So we are hopeful to have a good conversation with him today. Today we want to look at the a view of leadership from a different angle. As he mentioned, he's a coach, he's a trainer, and has certain concepts of leadership that are useful for us to know. So, we are going to have a general view of leadership and narrow it down to how we are impacting our global village, our Africa, and our Ghana today. So, sir, I would like to throw the first question to you. Generally, and what have you come up to understand as leadership? In your own view, what is leadership?
Thank you so much. In my own view, first of all, let me throw a bit light on this. Leadership is one of the most interesting topic one have to come across because it's almost like the subject that got many definitions across the globe.
Right.
It's not having a specific definition because every school of thought have their own definition when it comes to leadership. But basically, uh, based on my little observation and understanding of what leadership is, I'm going to say that leadership simply means solving problems.
Wow.
It simply means professing solutions to the problems around you.
Right.
So if you help me to go a bit further, uh, again, it brings us to the light of the fact that the word leadership is from two syllable word, which is leader and a sheep. So meaning leader in a sheep. So in that sense, it tells you that one, there is a leader, and two, there is a sheep. And each and every one, of course, knows that anytime a sheep is in motion, is actually on an assignment. It's on a mission.
Right.
So a sheep is not moved until there is a mission. So it brings us to the light of understanding that the very moment you, as a person, you are in emotion, it means that you are in a motion. It means that you're on an assignment, and that assignment means that you're on a mission, and that mission means that you have a purpose to serve. And that brings us to the light of the fact that that purpose simply has to be the fact that you have the responsibility to solve a certain problem around you, in your community, surrounding you, because a leader must always be found in a ship which is in a mission.
Wow, wow, like this is amazing. A leader is somebody who identifies problems and solves them. Practically, leaders play roles because there are missions and purposes to accomplish. And and those missions and purposes are actually to solve problems at the end of the day. So leader is somebody on a mission to solve a problem. Did I get the picture right?
That's very correct.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Like you said, there are different definitions of leadership, and this is one of the profound ones I've ever heard. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. Now, what on issue with purpose? Now, how does personal or self leadership comes into play, and how does it differ from public leadership, if there is some at all? Because if I have purpose on a real, I think that it is my purpose. So how does my personal leadership comes in, and when does should I make it a public leadership?
Great, great. So, again, the subject of leadership is quite very interesting and then thought provoking to an extent because each day new theories keep coming and The very moment you sit down, you meditate on the subject of leadership, new ideas keep springing up. Now, bringing it back to the reality of the subject of purpose, uh, it will interest you to know that no manufacturer manufactures a product in vain. Every product got a purpose to serve.
Right.
So, like for example, the mobile phone is created to solve the issues of communication. The vehicle or the car has been created and manufactured to solve the issues of transportation. The airplane has been created to solve the issues of transportation. The calculator has been created to solve the issues of mathematical issues. So it tells us the fact that every product got a purpose and it has a specific field in which it operates. Likewise, every human being, because no product is created in isolation and no product self-exists except God for that matter. So we humans, we are created by a divine being, by God, and therefore it becomes very important that if we really want to understand our purpose, walk in the dimension of our mission, solving problems in our specific field, we have to first of all revolve around the subject matter of our leadership call and understand and find it. Now, the question therefore becomes, how do you find your leadership call? Which is your purpose? For me, every man's tool determines his assignment.
Okay.
So if you don't know the tools you are having, it means you are not going to know which problem you are created to solve.
Right.
Because if you go into the camera right now, there are components of the camera, there are softwares in the camera that help us to kind of do the recording and then also help us to kind of project to the world, live stream. Without those components, without those tools and the softwares, at the end of the day, you will not be able to do what you have to do.
Right.
So it becomes very crucial, very important that you have to work in that dimension. But how do you discover it? How do you discover these two? There is this thing that I call the compass formula for discovering your leadership call. The compass formula, you know, every one of us knows what compass is. We have the north, we have the south, we have the east, we have the west. So the north simply means God, because every product got a manufacturer. So if you want to understand a product, you have to go back to the manufacturer, or the factory in which was the product was manufactured, for you to understand what the product is about. So it's either you go to the manufacturer or you find a manual to the manufacturer in order for you to understand the purpose of that product. Number two, we have to use what I call the SAT, because around us are problems that is, the SAT simply means the environment, our surroundings. There are problems surrounding us. There are issues surrounding us. So it becomes very important that our makeup identify the problems, like the vehicle. The vehicle walk on the street simply because you have to walk on the street to solve the problems on the street. Likewise, the mobile phone have to be in the field of communication because the issues are on the communication field and not on the transportation field for the mobile phone. So the vehicle cannot come to the the communication field, because that is not its lane of its environment. So it becomes very important. The number three thing, there are issues surrounding us, as I said, with respect to the number two again, which have to be the surrounding. A very good friend called McAfee. McAfee works on, he's the founder of Macintosh Africa.
Okay.
Macintosh Africa simply use waste materials to create artifacts and beautify the environment. So basically, what is McAfee doing? McAfee simply recognize the fact that there are issues surrounding us when it comes to the sachet water and then sachet waste and then the bottles. So he decided that, okay, why don't I sit down and then use this to create an artifact that will beautify the environment? So he created the Christmas trees, the shoes. Some even go to an extent of using the same product to create houses, infrastructure, and co. So that's the beauty of it. Yeah, there are issues surrounding us. We just have to ponder around us to use such issues and work in our purpose. Number three have to be the fact that you have to look at the East. The East simply means the rising of the sun. Everybody got a beginning. You have a history, your family background. There are things that your family transported to you, because according to science, we are genetic beings, right? So there are certain traits that moves in the blood through to offspring by the parent. So it becomes very important that, according to science, there are these traits that has been transferred. So probably in the history of a certain family, most of the people in the family becomes a lawyer. Most of the people in the family becomes farmers. Most of the people in the family becomes advocates. Most of the people in the family become drivers. These are traits for you to identify your leadership. But the number four thing has to be the West, which have to be forward. You are moving forward. So basically, it means your vision. It means your desires for the future, the things that you aspire to become. This gives you a certain level of high tension burden, and you keep striving towards that. You always have restlessness until such things are being achieved. But then one which is kind of very important and very crucial have to be, which of course most time we don't give a kind of eminence to, have to be the pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pivot. Sometimes when we are dealing with the issues of compass, we end up neglecting the pivot.
Yeah.
But trust you me, without the pivot, there is no north, there is no south, there is no east, there is no west.
No
So
movement.
the pivot actually becomes the powerhouse,
Okay.
the powerhouse of your leadership core. Without the pivot, all the other rotating factors becomes aimless and
Yeah.
useless. So what then is the pivot? Your pivot simply means potential.
Okay.
So the question therefore becomes, what is potential? The word potential is from two syllables once again, like leadership.
Yeah.
Of course, it means potent and then in all.
Okay.
So potent in all. So the I stand for in, and then the AL stand for all. Of course, so that means almost like a three-syllable word. But what is the meaning of the word potent? It means power. So if you want to describe or define the word potential, it simply means power in all. So for you to be able to walk in the moment of your leadership goal, you have to actually discover your potential. So what then are the components of potential? One has to be the fact of your talent. These are the natural gifting. Some people have the ability to talk, like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Some people have the ability to think critically. So some people can sit down and analyze situation to that deeper extent. Other people can just go to the law court and defend people without losing a case. Not even just losing a case, but you admire how they defend people's cases when you go to the Supreme Court or even any law court. Example, Chachuchikata, which of course is a celebrated legal luminary in the Ghanaian context. So that is just one aspect of it. Then the second aspect, aside the natural gifting, which is the talent, have to be the skills acquisition. The skills acquisition, which is very crucial. These are the things that you go to schools to learn. It most times leads to the formation of your professional life. So these skills are actually part of what's the name, your leadership core, because as we said, you are not dropped here on the surface of the earth just because of the fact that the manufacturer find pleasure in manufacturing you, but for the essence of you solving a problem. And through solving that problem, you have to go through certain processes and situations. And those processes and situations become part of your leadership core, which you have to unleash to solve the problem. Therefore, it brings us to the subject matter of how do you bring that to the limelight of what's in your professional life and your public life, which is very crucial. Now, we understand that the leadership is about solving problems. So when you are transitioning from self-leadership has to be the essence of you discovering your leadership core, developing your potentials, like we said, and then deploying your passion, which have to be in your professional way. So mostly you end up hearing this statement that make your passion your profession, which is absolutely right, because your passion is like a magnetic pull, which comprises what's the name, all these sectors mentioned, the north, the south, the east, and so, because that is the powerhouse. So one aspect of the potential also have to be the passion, because it's the magnetic pull that kind of pull all these four sectors together to give you a certain direction. So moving in that tangent, if you're able to discover your purpose, develop your potential, and deploy your passion, it leads you to the limelight of you moving in the dimension of public leadership.
Wow. So I'm just stuck with all the insights and teachings you've given on the subject of leadership. In fact, some of the theories and the things you are producing, this is my first time hearing them. I've read leadership, I've I'm a leader myself, but these are profound. And what I'm getting from this in summary is that you're finding your purpose, looking to God, finding problems and addressing them, checking your history, your background, connecting it with your vision, finding your potential, and building all of them together, integrating them forms your personal leadership,
Absolutely.
adding skills and developing it. Then, as you develop it and serve it, it becomes your public leadership.
Absolutely.
Excellent. It's amazing because it throws me back to the difference between the art of leadership and the science of leadership. And the West and the East part speak a lot about it. The East part thing talks about the science of leadership, where you have to look at theories that has taken place in your life, principles that has is working, those that you have to apply from history.
Yeah.
And then the art of leadership talks about finding purpose and projecting into
In
the
the future.
future.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this insights. I'm really, really impressed. Thank you. Okay. So my last but one question to you is um, now let's narrow this leadership thing down into the various areas of leadership. First, I want you to talk about and if an individual wants to address issues of leadership in education, in government, in politics, in faith, in technology, science, agriculture, whatever area. What are some key metrics that you think that the person should pay attention to in order to deliver excellently in their leadership journey?
Amazing. So delivering excellency in your leadership call, first of all, again, it brings us back to the issue of you once again discovering your leadership call,
Yeah.
developing it, and then
Right.
deploying your passion.
Yeah.
Because when you move away from that dimension at the end of the day, it's almost like a fish moving away from the water. What is going to happen is that the fish is going to die
Yeah.
because the ecosystem or the enabling system created for the fish to survive and to live and to be successful is aquatic in nature. It's not terrestrial.
Yeah.
You have to be aquatic. So
Yeah.
if a fish decides today to move from that target to become what's the name, a terrestrial being, of course, it turns out to the fact that it's actually an impossible work.
Right.
So what you need to do is fundamentally discover your purpose, develop it, and deploy it. So that brings me to the field of we understanding that one, personal leadership is that very crucial. Discovering yourself is that very important and crucial because social leadership is never going to be successful until
Excellent.
what's the name
Personal
your
leadership.
personal leadership is in place. Because social leadership just comes to amplify your social leadership.
Your
So if you
personal
fail
leadership,
in leading yourself successfully, it means that you are going to fail in a social leadership venture. So what you do in this dimension is what something that we call, again, with respect to our theory, we call the GPS of leadership. And everybody is created, like we said, the fish is created to be in the sea and not on the land. So every one of us, like a product that we have been created and designed to be in a specific environment. So the GPS of leadership has been very notably created for this. And it brings to the fact that each and every one of us is being designed and wired to be in one of these three dimensions. One, there are people who have been created and wired to just come out with policies and design laws and regulations. So these people you see always, they are seated down thinking about the next move
Right.
of a community, of a
Analysis,
society.
yeah.
So these are politicians, these are government entities, these are community leaders. So when you see your chief is known as a policy-making leader because his fundamental responsibility is to make sure that they create the right enabling environment for the community to coexist. So if there is no chief, if there is no opinion leader, if there is no assemblyman, if there is no MMDCs, if there is no president, if there is no parliament, if there is no ministers, it means the enabling environment for a community to coexist is not going to be there. So these people are designed and wired to create laws to create systems, to create structures that forms a national law, that forms a community law,
Right.
that forms a group law for people to strive on.
Right.
Then we have another sector of leadership called the prosperity creation leaders.
Okay.
These people have the responsibility or are wired and designed honorably to solve the problems of economy. So they are responsible for creating one jobs. They are responsible for creating two wealth. They are responsible for creating three prosperity of the community, of the region, of the country, of the continent, and of the group. So one, the prosperity creation. Sorry, the policy making leaders are not responsible for creating of jobs. If we understand this in terms of the dimensions of our leadership in Ghana, in Africa, it's going to help a lot. Because if we understand that government agencies, government, parliament, be it executive, be it what's the legislature, are not responsible for creating of jobs, we will fine tune in how we play the leadership card. So we have another arm of leadership responsible for creating of jobs, which is the prosperity creation leaders. And these are individuals, these are private individuals responsible for sitting down, generating ideas that are going to propel the community, the society, the country, the continent, and the globe to the next phase. So you see Elon Musk sitting down somewhere and said, okay, I'm going to create the next electrical car. You see what's the necessary technology saying, okay, I'm going to create the next machine to make sure that it measures the temperature of grains and coal. So the next aspect, aside the prosperity creation leaders, people who create wealth and jobs and prosperity for the community, is the next aspect have to be the fact of the activism or the policing leadership. This is very crucial as well, aside the two aforementioned, because the right laws needed to be made. The implementation of the right laws needed to be done. Prosperity needed to be created. But the laws must be created rightly. But who are responsible for making sure that the policymakers create the right laws? Is the policing or activist or advocacy leadership. These people be on the government neck to make sure that the government or politicians create the right laws, the enabling environment. But not just that. Amazingly, their responsibility is huge because they have to oversee both the policymakers and the prosperity leader. So they also make sure that the prosperity leadership are responsible. They are abiding by the tenets of laws and regulation created by the policy making leader. So if we are able to understand this GPS of leadership, I mean, the ecosystem is going to be very interesting. Why? Because currently the situation in Africa, the situation in Ghana is kind of very sad. Why? Because those who are in the helms of affair of creating the right law sees those who are doing advocacy as enemies. So meanwhile, they've forgotten that leadership and accountability are inextricably linked. You can't separate these two. So it's kind of very baffling to know that people thought that, okay, the very moment I have a leadership position, I'm not accountable to anybody. But we understanding this triangle system of GPS of leadership makes a sense that, okay, so if I'm in a leadership position of making laws, there are some people who are designed and wired to be there to make sure that I create the right laws, I create the right regulation and system so that the prosperity creation leaders can flourish. But also making sure that these people are also on the neck of the prosperity creation leaders to make sure that they don't take advantage of the workers and they're also abiding by the tenet of the constitution, by the tenet of the laws, governing one the ecosystem they found themselves in.
Wow. 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 So this is amazing. So what I'm getting from your submission is whichever sector you find yourself, locate your GPS and function
Locate your
within it.
GPS and function.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much. Please, your last words. A leader is watching you, desperate to lead, in politics as an activist, for example, you can even speak to that matter. What is going on in our government sectors? What should be done? How would you inspire somebody to take actions today?
Right. So I have to say, interestingly, I'm an activist, like I already alluded to. It's quite an interesting journey, but I just want the continent to know. I just want Africa to know. I just want Ghana to know, especially the young people across the continent to know that uh, if you have a leadership position, is first of all starting from the place of personal leadership. You have to lead yourself successfully for you to be able to lead a community, for you to be able to lead two or more. If you are able to lead yourself successfully, it simply means that you are setting yourself up for failure. But most importantly, too, we are crying to the fact that leadership is about solving problems. It's not about just leading a group of people. It's not a fancy thing. It's not a pleasure thing. It's not something that is just a fashion. It's about function. It's not a seat. Leadership is not a seat reserved for just a few. It's for everybody. And one of the acts of leadership is kind of, especially in the social sector, social leadership is you harnessing the resources and then or mobilizing resources to make sure that problems are solved. So one, if people give you their resources, you have to be in the know that they are going to demand for accountability. No one gives you a resource. And trust you me, everything you have, be it people around you, be it the talent you're having, you are going to give an account to it. If not now, it's going to be then. So it's kind of very important and profound that one, we discover our leadership call, we walk in that, but most importantly, we don't have to see people who are demanding accountability from us as enemies. Because for us to be successful in our leadership endeavor, we have to have people who are going to continuously monitoring our steps and then demanding accountability for us. Because there is this popular saying, that is an African proverb that says that he that is cutting the line never knows that the line is crooked until he that is behind him. So you will never know that the line you are cutting, the leadership path you are working on is crooked until somebody call your attention to it. So when you have an activist calling your attention to it, don't see it as an enemy of your leadership core. Rather see it as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for development, and an opportunity for the success of your leadership core. And it's going to be well with us. I want to urge each and every one of us that Africa is going to rise. Africa is rising, but we have to start from the place of leadership where we understand that leadership is about solving problems. Leadership is not about lording about the people. Leadership is about professing solution. It's not about owning people. It's not about having authority or power over people. Leadership is not a seat reserved for few, it's a seat reserved for all. But we have to work together as one people to make sure that the issues confronting our continent is solved. And with that, we can leave a better Ghana, a better continent, that's Africa, for the next generation to come and depend on. Final of it all have to be is that, especially to young people, listen, it's kind of very interesting, but very profound as well for us to know that we cannot fail, and we must not fail.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We cannot fail and we must not fail. And he said, Africa is rising. We will rise again. I so much believe in that. I don't agree with people who make comments, Ghana or no. We will rise again. I bet you people are rising. And thank you for joining us today. Two things: discover your purpose, lead yourself, solve a problem. That is what defines leadership. I'm Michael Brainy. I'm your friend. I love you. Remember, I want you to do well. Subscribe, share with people. I'll see you in our next episode.